them that He loves. Yes. God, I give you glory for this. I thank you for what's happening in the room. I thank you for how you've already encouraged, how you're already stretching, how you're already depositing ideas, how you're already depositing things that you're breathing on, Lord, and even a few things in the room that some have like given up on, and the embers of yesterday are glowing orange again. And I see a wind of the Spirit just revisiting and this is even weird because normally I don't want to say get an old thought, but I see where you had an old thought and the wind of the Spirit is blowing on it again and it's glowing orange. You thought it was just ashes and that just burnt to the ground and that's no longer there. And the Lord's saying it's valid. It's still valid. And I see Him just rekindling that flame again. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you, Holy Spirit. I thank you for the multiplication. I see it like I don't even know what they're called. Those silly little Chinese toys, and it just keeps like popping them out, and until it gets to the smallest one. It's like you just keep. It's so annoying. You can't ever get to the end of it. And they're wooden, and they're always like crazy, beautiful, decorated. But then you just open them up, and then it spits out one slightly smaller, and spits out one slightly smaller, and slightly smaller, to like the 12th degree. And it's like the Lord just like, I've got a surprise for you. You're about to open some things up, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to multiply it. And it's like, it seems like it's getting smaller, but it started with this seed that's buried on the inside of you. I feel that it started with this seed that's on the inside of you, and you watch how I multiply it layer by layer by layer by layer. He's going to increase. He's going to teach you. He's teaching some of you you're coming into a moment of teaching where He's going to show you how to cause your money to work for you. There's going to be an increase of wisdom and knowledge on you that your money is going to work for you in a capacity that it hasn't before. Lord, help me to instruct, help me to teach, help me to show them, teach me, show me, instruct me, God, how to even be better than I've ever been, more than I've ever done. Help me to relay this to your people. Help me to relay it to your people, that they, even if they use somebody else's door at the moment, God, that they begin to hear that they inherit their own door. Lord, I don't mean another door. You are the only door, Father. But I mean, Lord, you've given me things in my mind. Let me relay that to them. And if they need to use my thoughts so that they can inherit theirs, then Father, so be it. So be it. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. I give you glory for this happening. I give you glory for this happening. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Amen. Thanks, worship team. Hey, it's really, really good. Really good. Good stuff, just leading us in. Leading us in. Leading us in. I was just thinking, I'm glad that we're not just experts on reading the room. And what I mean by that is, because in worship, even though I'm not a worship leader, and if you've heard me sing, you would know exactly why. All right? It's bad. It's bad. And it's not, you know what? Yeah, let me bless you with this. My parents told me I was bad. I was never going to be the kid on American Idol that thought that he could sing when he really couldn't. Because my parents knew how to direct me. That ain't your gift, son. I received it. I received it because it was bad. It was bad, all right? So understanding that, I appreciate the worship team, not just today, Sydney and the whole gang, Sydney and the gang, Waylon, Willie, and the boys. I appreciate all of them and what that they do, and it's because it's not. Sometimes if you read the room, sometimes you guys are not the greatest book to read. And it could get discouraging if we just read a room. Sometimes you're on fire. And sometimes it seems like you're not, but we don't walk by what seems. We walk by faith. And I thank God for people that aren't just here to be experts on reading the room. And that's what worship leaders are trained to do, is read the room, because we're supposed to lead you in. I'm done with people reading rooms. I'm ready for them to read Jesus. I'm ready to read Jesus, and if you can't follow that, that's on you, not on us. I know it's not the growth church models. One day somebody's going to ask me, and I'm just going to ruffle everybody's feathers. It's going to be crazy. I'm done just reading rooms. I want to be where you're at. I understand that. I don't mean, hey, let's exhaust this and let's exhaust. No. Just read Jesus, and that's it. That's the assignment. Let's read Jesus, and let's follow after that. Because why would we ever think that we were arrogant enough, that we knew enough, that we could just look out over the room and say that this is what we need to do because this is what the room's doing? You know what happens? You inherit Saul's and not David's. I got to quit. We're going to be here a while like that. Y'all quit asking questions right now. I'm bringing the team up, Vlad and Tim today. That is the team today, is Vlad and Tim. Coming up. Kenzie, you're right there. Can you get some tables, and just one table, I think. You know what? Let's just do this. Let's grab the futon out of this room, and Vlad and Tim can sit on the futon. We don't need a table. Do y'all need a table? We don't need a table, and I'll sit in a chair. We're doing a round table without a table. I'll sit right here. We need that microphone. Hey, can you get that? We got it. Vlad's got it. You and Tim hold that one, and then I'll work with this one. It's Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. Don't be excited. I don't really know if that was any easier than what we should have done or not, but it felt right. It felt right in the moment. I was thinking it was gray. It's black. The gray one's in there. I want the gray one. I'm just kidding. Well, my chair's gray, and it's going to mess with me. But it's all right. Yeah, let's angle it. We look professional now. Yeah. All right. Father's Day. So much we could say, so much we could do today. But on Mother's Day, we had a round table with Tosh and Maria and Angela, and now we have Vlad, Tim, and myself to help correct everything that was messed up that day. I'm just kidding. I promise. I'm just kidding. It's we're here to have a roundtable discussion, just about, not just about fatherhood, but this is, being a father is one of the most spiritual things you'll ever do in your life, and that is something that Abba is extremely passionate about. What does, if we could ask Abba, what is one of the foremost things that you want us to know about you? And I do speak for him oftentimes, but I believe if he was literally sitting in this room and not answering the question through me and answering it himself, I think that one of the things on the top of his list would be that I'm a good father. Because this is one of the reasons that he sent his son. He sent his son so that you could change your view of who he was as Abba. That he's a good father. That's why the disciple said, teach us to pray. The first thing he says is, our Father. our Abba. So it's a big deal. It's an amazing thing. It's a trying thing. And so we're just going to release some things to you that, and there may even be, I sent them over a list of questions just to be ready for, and there could be some surprise questions too, I'm sure. All right. Did y'all bring, the ladies had like papers and they were, no, you got to find, all right, that's good. All right, good. Let's start with and I'll try to. I'm going to chime in because I'm a chime, and but I want to. We'll start right here with you, Tim, and I want you just to elaborate and go into some detail here, and let's just kind of keep it simple to start. All right, you're not on the hot seat yet. Not on the hot seat yet. Situation or circumstance. Now let's do it this way. I'm shifting gears. Here we go. Not a surprise question first. One of the most valuable pieces of advice that you got from your dad, your granddad, or a friend that has translated into your own fatherhood. I say piece of advice. I don't want to dumb it down to something somebody told you, something you either seen or was told to you, and it drastically impacted you as a father and has translated into that. Tell us about it. Elaborate on it.
So that is the one question I did not answer on here. And the first one, dang it. So I guess, so I was actually telling Kinsey this morning, I was like, this is one question I did not answer. But, so I think, so my parents were much older when they had me. So it's a different generation. My grandparents were, a lot older than that. So as far as having a father figure or whatever, he wasn't really present in my life. So I never really got maybe that advice. But I did see how he interacted with other people. Maybe not with his own family, but I saw how he interacted with other people. And it intrigued me because it was such love and compassion. So he was a Baptist deacon in our church, and so just seeing that and just the love of people, like coming up to him, hugging them, talking to them, and different things. And so I guess that would be one thing that I saw that I appreciated. And so I knew when my family started coming along, I knew that was something that I wanted to impart into them and to have that with them. And then coming to Kingdom Culture, Josh loves people like crazy. It's kind of annoying sometimes. No, I'm just kidding. But it's just that love and I mean, he just loves everybody. And I've not really been kind of that forthcoming or forthgoing or whatever. I love people, but he just shows it. It's just that in the way he treats people and all of that. So that has also inspired me in the last 6 years that we've been here. So yeah, I guess that's it.
Same question. What was the question? I'm joking. Next question, please. I think that the best advice that I think I received. I wouldn't say that I got it from like my dad, but is to become a friend of your kids. And just because you go out there and you do things that they do does not make them your friend. Being a dad is one thing, participating in their interest is another thing, but becoming a friend of your kids is a whole different level where there's a trust that is built, there's a bond that is built where they can come to you. And like we've always told our kids, we're like, we don't care like what happens, like what kind of situation you get yourself into, like we better be the first person that you call and reach out for help, reach out for advice, ask for wisdom, counsel, leadership. But if you don't have that friendship or that bond with your child, I don't think that you'll be the first person that they're going to reach out to. So that would be something that I hold on is being a friend to my kids, not just being their provider and taking care of them, but being friends.
It's good. For me, one of the things that is translated into my fatherhood that I seen from my dad was, and something that I practice often in my own life, is pretty much every day my kids are going to hear these words from me: I love you. That impacted me a lot. My dad and my mom both, but my dad, rarely was there ever a day that I heard these words all the time: I love you and I'm proud of you, son. I love you and I'm proud of you. And that was something that wasn't necessarily just a piece of advice and conversation given to me, but it was something that I seen and observed, and I feel has molded my life. And something that I do, in my own home is I tell my kids I love them and I'm proud of them. They hear that. They hear that often. My wife hears that. I tell my wife that often as well. So I would say that has not just molded me as a father, but helped even mold me as a husband. And constantly letting those people around me know how much that I care about them. And it's not always just through action. And I know, like, there's, a whole book on love languages and things like that. Not to belittle that, but actions, I guess, what's it called in the love? Is it acts of service? That one's really not mine. That's really not mine, but I constantly want to be an echoing voice of, and I feel like, so many times, to the good or the bad, children will inherit a view of Abba by what they see and hear from their earthly father. And this can be phenomenal and detrimental at the same time, because not everybody had the same strong relationship or whatever. And because of that, there's things that have to be broken off of their life, or where their father was lacking. They're always, listen, your children are your children and they'll always be your children, but there comes a moment in their life where they have to start deciding for themselves that I am going to be passionate about God. And that has to be something that marks them. And I saw my dad, I saw him never, just didn't quit. Maybe in situations and times where I would have thought that he should have quit, and he didn't. And that marked me. Of course, he filled my life with one-liners as well. Josh, you can be right or you can be happy. He told me all these things. and and so those are things that he gave to me, but one of the most observable things was that word of love and how proud that he was, and it's certainly translated into my fatherhood and as husbandship. Can I say that? Husband, as a husband or father, that's something that's translated into my life. So, yeah. Next thing here. Hopefully, it's one Tim filled out. Let's do this. Let's talk about balance here. How do you balance? So, just so you know, everybody you're hearing from here, we all own a business. In fact, that's something that there was a time at Kingdom Culture where I would say we had more business-owning homes than not business-owning homes, and that still may be the case. We'd have to just like count it up, but it's something. There's just such a entrepreneurship that is on our house of people doing things, and so it's really really interesting. So that said, there's something real interesting here in that, and I want people to hear that. How do you balance business/career? Because not everybody is a business owner, so let's keep it in terms of business ownership or career, whatever that is. How do you balance that with being present as a father, dad, husband, as a father and husband? How do you balance that?
I think you give it your all in both areas. You can't just give it your all in the workplace and then come home and give your family zero. And then that side of your life is going to lack severely. And then if it's vice versa, then your business will lack severely. And I don't think that there is, in my life, I don't think that there's just this perfect line where it's like a 50-50. I think it's more of a work hard, play hard type of a lifestyle where we have goals and ambitions that we want to accomplish, and the family understand it. We will communicate even to our kids with my wife and be like, hey kids, the next 2 weeks we're going to work really hard, but we've got a trip planned and we're working for this trip. And the kids will be on board. They'll understand. They'll be supportive. They'll ask like, hey dad, how was your day at work? And so that's, for me personally, for my life, that's what kind of gives me the fuel to keep going. But it's definitely, with owning a business, there's no such a thing as like a 9 to 5 where you come home at 5 o'clock and then you just kind of like put it all away. There's phone calls that will come through. I had a lady call me this morning on her drive to Tulsa. She's like, hey, my car is doing this. What do I do? Should I keep driving? Should I not? And I mean, that is just almost a 24/7 responsibility of having to have work duties as well as being able to be present with your kids and with your wife and do stuff. So I love the balance. For me is hey, I'm going to work really hard and then I'm going to go and enjoy some time. And that's what seems to work in my life pretty well.
So kind of the same thing, just finding the specific time for each task. Coming home, being 100% into the family, 100% into your work. But I am done at 5. And so yeah, it's not 9 to 5, but I'm done at 5. So I don't get all the phone calls and stuff that he does, because your car is kind of important to get around, and people rely on that. Mine, if you call, you might get a text, something maybe the next day. You might not get one back at all. So anyways, yeah, I'm a little bit more lax on that. But yeah, just finding time and being 100% in with your family and job and everything.
That's good. Good stuff. So I to hone in even on something there that Vlad said on. There's not a line that is just 50-50 when you're doing this, and I understand exactly what he's talking about. So many people are looking for that 50-50 line to look like this. Well, when you do some of the things we do, it looks a lot more like this, and it just serpentines. And something that I haven't ever just, I don't know if I've set my children down and just told them, but there seems to be like an understanding of the season that you're in. And there's moments where the season that you're in requires more time, not necessarily away, but you can be there and be away. And then there's the times of we're here, this is what we're doing. And if you don't know, then you don't know. But I've recently, if I'm telling you now, I've recently been building a house. And something that you can, if you ever build your own house, there's multiple ways to do it. Okay? Multiple ways to do it. You can do the turnkey model where you don't do anything and you just hand them the money and then they build your home. Then you can have the hands-on approach, the partial hands-on approach. Or you can get in there and when I did mine, I was the GC on my home. I had a GC as well that was consulting me, but I was the GC on the home, which that means general contractor. I was meaning that there was a lot of responsibility falling on me for scheduling things, for paying things, for picking things out. And so I did that, and that was a process that we started framing like at the beginning of January. I'm telling you this because there was times, but especially the last 60 days, the last 2 months of the project, there was a lot of sweat equity on my end, where I was there sometimes 14, 16 hours a day. And I was just there, just dripping with sweat because I was wiring things. I was, and nothing has burned down or anything like that. I was never like, I'm going to take this and run with this. I always had like an expert that told me what to do, and then I would go do that. And I would run and start knocking these things out and doing them. But it meant a lot of late day. I remember I was on a scaffolding with a coon light on my head, wiring can lights 20 feet in the air and cramping up with nowhere to go because I didn't have railing on it. They make railing for scaffolding if you didn't know. So just laying down. So in that, I hope that my children, even though I haven't set them down, could discern the season. Hey, Dad's gone a lot right now, but he's creating something that we're going to love. And he's gone for this moment, but this moment has an ending. If you're a dad, you can't be gone 16 hours a day, and that is your life. But you can sustain that for a month, for 2 months, for 6 months. It can't be your life where this is always the status quo, because then you're going to start missing things. And so just a big thing for me with my kids is just being there. Just being there. We can be watching TV, but I'm just there. I want to be there. Something that has been in that 2 month period where I'm limping around because I've overworked my foot and discovered I had a bone spur that I didn't know I had. And apparently that chose to manifest right in the middle of this project, which was no help. So it was just like I was out there with a boot, and because I just like I don't like getting off. I like being like just on. I like being on point on certain things, and so just going for it. And something that I missed was like it was with Callie. It's different than it is with Kason. For me, with Callie, it was. Callie, like I spend time with Callie and we watch shows together. and we solve crimes together, and we do that. That's something that we like to do. Kason likes it a little bit, but he would rather me be throwing the football in the yard and showing him this or playing video games. Well, over the past 60 days, the last 2 months of that project, watching TV with Callie was easy. Playing catch was not, because sometimes I couldn't even hardly walk. Like there were times I would be like crawling through my house for it, because it was a bone spur's like extremely weird. I can go from needing crutches to walking normal in a matter of like 20 steps, and it's just odd. It's just odd, and that is getting better. Rest is something that certainly helps that. So hopefully people in your home can discern the season. Hey, there's going to be time away where it seems like certain things are lacking, but it doesn't mean that Dad's not here. There's the balance is, hey, this has an end game to it. And if you can understand this, if you can see the finish line, you'll know that this is going to be over soon, and we can do that. Don't take on projects that are going to take all of your time away to where you can't be dad and you can't be husband. Take on a project. It's going to take all my time away. Did it take all your time away for life, or did it take all your time away for 2 months, for 3 months? Things are sustainable when they're in short periods of time. I guess I got to go with the next question. It's going to go with the next question. I hope this is helpful. I don't just... All right. Let's do this. How do you handle disciplining your kids? We'll start with you, Tim.
I don't know. Yeah, can we go next? So I guess it's been different with every child. So Caden, our oldest, he was a wild child, and we were new parents, and I know we made a lot of mistakes disciplining him and raising him. So you learn with each one, but I think we've kind of landed on what works the most for us is just that, not like a violent get in your face, but get in your face and, hey, this is what I'm telling you not to do. I'm telling you not to do this because, and then whatever it is. So a lot of times, Caden would run out of Walmart and just take off running into the parking lot, and there's cars coming. And being a new dad, I'd rip him up and spank his butt. And I'm like, what are you doing? You don't do that. And he's just freaking out. He don't know what's going on. So as the kids got older, then I could be, hey, I'd grab them, pull them back, and then sit and talk and explain more. And I know a lot of people are like, I'm not explaining, this is what I'm doing and whatever. Well, that's fine, but we have to work what works for us. And so, plus my other two are a lot more sensitive than Caden was. Caden was just like, what are you doing? And then these just cry and cry and cry if you look at them wrong. But yeah, it's just it's a growing process. It's just learning kind of what works for your family. So,
Keep it right here, and then we'll go to. What about, is there difference in you, and there's obvious difference in you and Angela, but is there like, hey, what is the degree of differentiation in disciplining between you and Angela, and what does that look like? What did you find a balance there, or just like, hey, she's better at this, I'm better at this, whatever it is? How do you handling that?
So it typically turns into Angela talking and telling them, hey, no, you're not going to do that. Hey, no, yes, we can do this, blah, blah, blah. And then I support her by saying, yes, that's right. Listen to your mother. So.
Did y'all hear this? Go for it, Vlad.
I just let Maria take care of that part. No, but to kind of start from the beginning, I guess, of the question, I don't think that there is a formula that you need to stick to. I think you need to find out what works, like what produces the fruit in each of the child based on how and what approach you have to them. So like each of our three boys are polar opposites of each other. Like one of them needed a can of whoop beep, and then I muted it because, I don't know if I could say stuff like that. But, the other ones, they just need you to sit them down and you need to talk to them. And that is like they would rather that you give them a can of whoop beep than to talk to them. But it's like, nope, we're going to talk to you right now. And we're going to be here as long as we need to until you understand what you did. And like as the kids progress in age, the approach must change. You can't use what worked when they were 2 and stick to that when they're 15 because it will not work at all. Like actually it will make their heart very hardened towards you. And then the first question that I answered about being a friend to them, that's going to be a barrier because if your approach isn't right in the discipline, then they're going to be closed off to you in the friendship aspect. So finding an approach that works, being intentional with them, spending time with them, talking to them. But really the best thing to do is just let your wife handle it and everything will be like golden.
Oh, man. That's good. It's good stuff. I'm going to give you some scriptures. Let me get them. What did I do with my iPad? Oh, there it is. I had it. Get this. Very familiar. Proverbs 22:6. You say that's not very familiar, Josh. It will be when I hit this. Dedicate your children to God and point them in the way that they should go, and the values they've learned from you will be with them for life. Dedicate your kid to God. Point them in the way they should go. Not every kid is going the same direction. Not every kid is supposed to end up in the same spot. They're all supposed to be in love with Jesus, but they're not. Some of them are going to do different things, and they all have their own. I think one of the dumbest things that we could do as dads is to treat every kid the same. And I'm not talking about are you fair or not fair. I don't care if my kids think I'm fair or not. I want them to think I'm just. And sometimes that means doing different things with different ones because they're polar opposites of what Vlad was saying. But point them in the direction they should go, and the values they learn from you are going to be with them for life. They're going to be with them for life. Give you this, Deuteronomy chapter number 6. Says, these are the commands, decrees, and regulations that the Lord your God commanded me to teach you. You must obey them in the land you are about to enter and occupy, and you and your children and grandchildren must fear the Lord your God as long as you live. If you obey all his decrees and commands, you will enjoy a long life. Listen closely, Israel, and be careful to obey. Then all will go well with you, and you will have many children in the land flowing with milk and honey, just as the Lord, the God of your ancestors, promised you. Listen, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. And you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your strength. Watch it here in verse number 6, Deuteronomy 6:6. And you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commands that I'm giving you today. Repeat them again and again to your children. Talk about them when you're at home, when you're on the road, when you're going to bed, when you're getting up. Tie them on your hands and wear them on your foreheads as reminders. Write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. Verse 10, the Lord your God will soon bring you into the land he swore to give when he made a vow to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is a land with large, prosperous cities that you did not build. I read that to hone in there on verse number 6 and 7, that he's saying that this is obey the commands of the Lord. And he said, repeat them again to your children and your grandchildren. Talk about them when you're at home. Talk about them when you're out on the road. Talk about them when you're laying down. Talk about them when you're rising up. Put them on your forearms, your wrist and your foreheads as a constant reminder. What is the constant reminder? Verse 10, the Lord your God will bring you in the land that he swore. That God keeps his promises. Never let your kids grow up wondering, is God faithful? This should be a question that is settled within them, that God is faithful. Now they may run out and do crazy things, but there's a seed on the inside of them that they will know that God is faithful. He's faithful. He's faithful in everything. And you should talk about this wherever you are. There's never not a good time. On the road or at home. Going to bed or getting up. Tie it on your wrist. Put it on your foreheads. I don't know if we're supposed to get tattoos or not, but I'm just saying that's probably, I'm just like, put this, brand it on you. When you're giving your kid your hand, that he sees it. When he's looking at you in the face, that he sees it on you. God is faithful. God is faithful. In disciplining your kids, Ephesians chapter number 6. Here we go. Ephesians chapter number 6, verse number 4. Fathers, don't exasperate your children, but raise them up with loving discipline and counsel that brings the revelation of our Lord. Don't exasperate your children. In other words, fathers, show consideration for different levels of understanding. Don't do at 2. Don't do to Caden. Don't do to Healing what you did to Caden. Don't do to Z what you did to Caden. Don't do to Caden what you're telling Z. They're all at different levels. They're all at different levels of so fathers, take into consideration the different levels of understanding and experience that children possess. Dealing with them at their level or risk causing them loads of heartache. Deal with them on their level. Deal with them on their level. One of the mistakes that I've made as a dad is just expecting my kids to know things that I know and not explaining, not setting them down and explaining. And sometimes I've lashed out in anger because they're not doing what I want them to do, and what they're doing is dumb, and I need them to listen to what that I'm wanting them to do, but I don't tell them why they're doing it. And instead of, sometimes I've had to case in, what do stupid games win? They win stupid prizes. Dumb games win dumb prizes. But if I don't explain this to you, why we're not going to do that, then you're not going to understand it. And it can bring injury. It can bring harm. And most of the time, that's usually what it is. Stop doing that. Why? Because you're going to mess something up, and I'm going to have to be the one that fix it. And I can already see, because wherever you are, I'm probably 6 steps ahead of you. And if you'll stop doing this now, I won't be mad later. And explaining that, don't do this now. It's going to bring harm later. And explaining that. Sometimes different kids need greater degrees of explanation of why something's happening because they think completely different. Some of them can receive this explanation and they can just go with it. And others are going to have to explain and reiterate why that we're doing this so that they want to know the deeper meaning to why we're doing this. Some of them are okay to we're just not doing that. They can't even tell you why. So there's the story, you've probably heard it, of the daughter at Thanksgiving, and she's raising up her daughter, and she cuts the ends of the hams off and she throws them in the trash. And her daughter said, "Why do we do that? Why are you doing that? Why are you throwing the ends of the hams? Are they?" She said, "That's because that's what my mom taught me to do." And her mom happened to be there. It's Thanksgiving. And she goes to her grandma, and they go in there together. "Hey, why did you have us cutting off the end of the hams and throw them into the trash?" And she said, "Because that's what my mother did." The great grandmother of the little girl, the grandmother of the daughter that had learned this, and the mother of the initial one. And they went to her and they said, "Hey, why did you teach us to cut the hams off and throw the end of the hams and throw them in the trash?" She said, "Because they wouldn't fit in my pan." They wouldn't. So now there's a legacy that has started out of nonsense because there was no explanation to why we do what we do. And then you get people in generation after generation getting stuck in cycles that they were never intended to even be in because somebody failed to communicate and explain. And that's one of the things that I've failed at several times, is lashing out in anger because they didn't know what I already knew, but I can't expect them. You cannot put an unrealistic expectation on your children to know what you already know. I'll give you this, Colossians 3:21, just to back up in case you needed more ammo for that chamber. Here it is, Colossians 3:21. Fathers, don't have unrealistic expectations for your children, or else they may become discouraged. It's better that you have a kid all over the place than having a kid that's discouraged because of your unrealistic expectations. And simple explanations can bring about what needs to happen in situations and circumstances. I'm more of now there were days where it was time to open up a can of whoop, but there were also days where it's less about this, that I need to spank my kid to get that. Listen, spanking won't actually work, just so you know. It will temporarily alter the behavior, but their thinking has to change. You can spank them hard enough to get the behavior that you're wanting temporarily, but the thinking has to change. Something far more effective than a rod. I'm not telling you that you're not supposed to ever spank kids, because I've spanked my kids, but something far more effective is a conversation that brings enlightenment. Because now something has changed. And because that changed, this helps. And so having more conversations will become more disciplined in their life. I'm not telling you that I'm winning at this all the time. I'm saying that I would rather have a conversation than spank. I would rather have a conversation than even ground them. Let's have a conversation, because out of that conversation, that I can bring you into this. Now, after we continue to have the conversation and you're still not getting it, there has to be consequences for this so that you can understand it's not okay that we do this. This is not okay. So, let's run along here. I don't know what time we're supposed to. I don't know how long y'all can go. So we can. Vlad's already hungry. So we're gonna roll with this. Though I want to get a couple more things in because there's some things. I keep switching. I want to switch apps and stuff. I want to do this. Let's hit two more questions. Okay. Well, maybe three, but two in one of them's a two-part. Okay. First one. If your kids could describe you in 3 words, what would they be? Part 2 of the question. Are you okay with what they say? But realistically, what do you really want these words to be in terms of legacy? That's a lot. We'll start with Tim. If your kids could describe you in 3 words, what do you think your kids, so in a nutshell, what do you think 3 words your kids would say about you is, and what do you really want those words to be?
So I don't know if this is actually what you were wanting, but I asked the kids what their 3 words for me would be. And Zadok said cool, funny, and caring. And Healings was kind, present, amazing. So, yeah, so as far as, I don't know that I would change that, really.
That's good.
So, yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
Well, I asked my kids on the drive over today, I said, what would you guys say about me? And Michael said, well, I can't do 3. He said, can I at least do 5? But they said fun, funny, adventurous, spontaneous, fun to be with, never boring. But I mean, they said a lot of those things, and I honestly don't think that I would change. I wouldn't change it. Like Tim said, I'm good with that. Like, you know, it was all good things that they said. None of it was like a jab, you know. So
that's good. What does that mean to you?
What do you mean?
What does that mean to you? Those words that they described you.
I mean, it means to me like affirming in a way of like, okay, then I am who I am, and I don't have to like act. I don't have to pretend to be someone who I'm not. I don't have to come home and put on a mask and be someone who they want me to be, but I could be who I am, and they appreciate that. So
that's good. That's good. Callie, come here. Yeah. Kason, come here. Oh. I didn't rehearse. I didn't ask my kids, so this is pretty dangerous. Give me 3 words. You describe me.
He's funny and he's like really caring. And if I need something done, like he makes time to get it done instead of just like finding time. He pushes things away to make time.
He's caring. He will like do stuff with me even when he has other things to do. And he is like, he's a really good pastor, and yeah.
Thanks. Dangerous game. Something, if I were to write down what do I think my kids would have said about me, I would have said loving, smart, funny, caring. That's what I would have thought that they would have said. That's like, what do they think? So this was things that I'm good with what they said. In terms of legacy, when one day when my kids are no longer living under my roof, I want them to know that Dad was loving, that Dad was faithful, and Dad was passionate about Jesus. And you hear that in all of these awesome, amazing, spontaneous. These are all attributes of Abba. These are all attributes of Abba. These are things that he does. And so hearing that, instilling that. So that leads me into the next question, even in terms of legacy. Last question on Father's Day. The lines are already long at wherever you're going, right? Last question. What does success in fatherhood look like to you? Go ahead. Start with Vlad.
And this one's deep. What does success look like to me? I think growing up and kids telling, their kids and saying that Dad never compromised. He was faithful. He was true. He took care of us. He did what he was supposed to. And he was a great dad. But also success would look to me is like that the kids are not rushing out of the house, but remaining a family, remaining connected. Not that I'm against or I don't want them to go off to college or whatever, but like creating a environment in the home where the kids are safe and they feel loved, they feel affirmed, that they're not just like, man, when I turn 18, I can't wait to get the bleep out of here. But that to me would be success, is something that you create as a father for your home is those things in my opinion.
So mine would be when Zadok wakes up in the morning and he says, hey, I had a dream that God is strong. He touched me. I felt the firmness of his hand on my life. I could reach out and touch him. I saw fire. I saw an angel. I saw whatever it is in the spirit. And when Healing talks about to her friends and they start saying things that may be kind of off color and, hey, you know what? Let's think of something more positive. Let's get to the positive side of things. And so whenever they start talking like that, that is the greatest success, because that's where we want their heart to be, is always just pointed to Jesus. And so we want them to have a better life than we had growing up. We were in church. We were filled with the Spirit. We knew things. We spent time with God, but we're coming into a time where we're learning from a father of this house that there's a deeper connection. There's a deep, deep well in Christ. And so to put them in this environment that they can wake up in the morning, I felt God touch me. That's the greatest success right there.
It's awesome. Awesome. What is how your kids are talking now in terms of what you just said compared to when you were at that age, what you were talking? Give me a correlation.
No, it definitely wasn't anything like that. I didn't start even going to church when I was about 4 years old, when Mom and Dad started going, and we were at a Free Will Baptist church, and so I was raised Free Will Baptist, but I do remember things. So some of them old Baptist women, did not.
How old? How old?
They were, well, they were old to me then. They were probably my age now. But I remember them having those beehive hairdos, and I remember them coming up and we had the old testimony services, and they would get up and they would continue. They would talk about the goodness of God, like how He sustained them, how all of this, and they would walk up and down the aisles and just this excitement about God, but that excitement wasn't in my household, so I didn't really get a lot of that. So it wasn't until I was probably 13 or so, and had gone to a Pentecostal church and started seeing that excitement and stuff. So my, I guess, language didn't really change until probably 13, 14, something like that. And then a couple years later, I met Angela, and then we decided, we were like, hey, this is good, but this isn't what we want. There's more. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how to do it. And so it's just been a continuation of every year, every day, hey, my life isn't good enough right now. Not that I'm not thankful what God has done, but I know there's more. I know there's more of Him. And so yeah, but at their age, no.
Yeah. Give it to Vlad. I want to ask you similar right here. What is one of the differences from when you were a kid, and I know Jaden's driving now, Michael's going in sixth grade, eighth, going into ninth. So when you were this age, what kind of conversations are you now having with your boys that you look back and say that this is even beyond, like what Tim was just saying? Is there anything that sticks out and I know this is kind of a surprise question here, is there anything that sticks out in a conversation about the I don't want to say spiritual matters, it's all spiritual. Is there anything that seems beyond a veil that you once lived behind? Can I say it that way?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think something that me and Maria stand firm on is, and this is not a direct answer, but this is just kind of a side road, but like what we target, like what our goal is, like for the level of like what we can produce, what will be our ceiling, we want that to be like the platform for our kids. So in that comparison would be kind of like how we grew up, how we were raised by our parents. Both of us in more, not so much mine was in a little more of a religious environment, but it was completely non-relational. Like there was no relationship aspect whatsoever. It was more of like a task that you were given to go to perform, to look a certain way or to do a certain part, but there's no relationship in it. And for us now, as parents with our kids, it's a day and night. I mean, it's black and white difference between how we were raised to what we are trying to do with our kids now. I think I was going to ask her to answer it, but it's Father's Day, so she...
That's really good, really good. So in terms of father legacy, being those dads that always have this, as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. But the reason why I wanted to point that out, sometimes people wonder, what do kids need when they come to, what do kids need when they come to church? What do kids need at home? It's probably easier to answer what kids need at home versus what they need when they come to church, because we have a Western Christian culture of what kids need at church. From what you just heard from two fathers, I could elaborate exponentially on this. an environment. I mean, these are guys that have raised their kids in this environment right here. I've raised mine in this environment. My son probably won't even remember a day that wasn't kingdom culture. Because I've been doing this, he's 10, and we've been doing this for 8 years. So it's going to be like not even remembering a day that we weren't kingdom culture. This environment is shaping and it's molding. Recently, not that long ago, I heard this story of this. I was talking with this pastor, and he told me, and I'll try to be very careful here, because it was a local area here. But this pastor was telling me that he had this family that started coming to his church, and he said that they were really involved in worship. And he said, I started finding their background. I said, where'd you guys come from? And they named the church that they came from, which was also a local church in this area. And again, I'll be real careful. But he said, why did you? Because he said the background that you have is very charismatic. It's prophetic. He said you're charismatic, you're prophetic, all this. How did you go to this other church? And he said because they had stuff going for our kids. That was his answer. His kids are now that are grown are all over the place, questioning their own identity. One of them was sitting down with that pastor. One of his kids are sitting down with that pastor, really struggling. I don't know if it was with homosexuality or gender identity, whatever that it was, which generally goes hand in hand. And he said, man, the place you grew, he said, like, you guys, like, it was thriving. You had it all. You had it all. And he said, did nobody ever tell, he said, did you ever, the guy was in his 20s at this time. And he doesn't ever remember having a service where he encountered God. And he grew up his whole life in it. And it was at a place where the dad said, I had my hands raised, and, somebody would come over and say, hey, we don't really do that here. It was more Sunday morning, this is what we do. And anyways, the environment is more effective than you ever imagined of how it molds, how it's transforming marriages, how it's transforming businesses, how it's transforming fathers, mothers, children. In terms of legacy, I hear my kids talking. I've had conversations like this with my wife before of how they are beyond what I was when I was that age. When I was their age, I wasn't in prophetic environments like this. I was in the church environment when I first started hearing of the prophetic. Not hearing, I knew the Bible had prophets in it, okay? I understood that. When I first started understanding and hearing the prophetic environment, I was like a senior in high school. I was in my teenage years, and it radically marked my life when I was being introduced to it. And it was something that has still marked my life. I still remember the first prophetic word ever given to me. Or that where I say prophetic, my dad, the prophetic is let me rephrase that. The first time somebody in a service where a prophet with a microphone stopped and pointed to me and gave me a personal word like that. Because my parents were constantly prophesying in my life. They didn't say, hey, I prophesy to you, Josh. They were just speaking into my life. And that's a big deal. But I remember the first time that during the service, a guy that was prophesying to people and giving them personal words, and he gave me one. I remember that. My wife wasn't even she wasn't familiar with that world. Even when we were dating, because I became more familiar with it to the point I remember one time when we were dating, I said, hey, I'm going to church. I said, I'm going to this place tonight. There's a guy there, and I'm going to go get a word from the. I knew he was going to prophesy to me. I said, I'm going to hear a word from God. And she said, what are you talking about? I said, I don't know. I'm just going, and I'm going to hear a word from God. There's a guy there, and he's got a word for me tonight. I know he does. And that was the conversation. I go to this service. And the building's like, I mean, it's not a huge building, but it's full. And I'm sitting there. I'm sitting there. The guy gets the microphone. He said, hey, is there a young preacher here named Josh? I'm like, this is me. This is me. I don't know how many there are, but this is me. And he gives me this word. I remember having that conversation. And now my wife, she was blown away by that on the other end of that phone call that night. I said, hey, I went to get this word, and this guy said, is there a young preacher? Like this was me. He was talking straight to me. And my kids are growing up in that, where things miraculous have happened, where breakthrough has happened. I was in a place where great services happened, but they're beyond the veil that I grew up in. And is that a detriment to a previous veil? It is absolutely not, because if I had Bappa and Gigi here, that's their grandparents, if I had them here, they would be so thankful for the veil that they've went beyond. My dad got a prophetic word one time and said that you preach behind many veils, but your son will step out in front of them all. And releasing that is something that is not a detriment to a father, but it is my ceiling is their floor. What Vlad was saying, that my kids go beyond every veil. Every veil. I try to not have any veils. There's nothing off limits. But every generation, in every generation, there's another degree to go to. And we need to equip the generation that's coming behind us that can pick up the baton, and they are not afraid to step out in front of any veil. Veils that they don't even know are there, veils that we're unaware of. Because God's saying, I'm releasing this in this day. He's got things assigned to be released in every generation. May we equip sons and daughters prepared to take on the assignment and say, this is what Abba's doing in the earth in my day. And I'll serve my purpose in this generation. In my day, God's doing this in the earth, and I'm partnering with it. In my dad's day, God was doing something in the earth, and they partnered with it. I can say my dad was faithful. I can say my grandparents on both sides, that they are faithful. Do I have the same theology of them? No. Do I have the same theology of my dad? No. I don't have all the same theology. My dad, he loves me. We can talk about things that he would not agree with. Sometimes he doesn't agree with me. Sometimes he doesn't agree with me, and he comes back even years later and says, this is right. Sometimes there's still things that I'm probably not right in. It's not about, it's about God's Abba, that is fathering earth, is wanting to release this in this generation. And we have the opportunity to partner with it and equip the next generation to partner with the voice that released it in ours. Happy Father's Day. Thanks so much for being here. I'm glad you're here. I hope you enjoyed this. It's a lot different, but I hope that you enjoyed this and that it encourages you. To all the dads in the room, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Happy Father's Day. We want to honor you, fathers.